I don't know. Syracuse in the I guess it's no longer Bayheim. I always have to adjust to that, right? Like Syracuse in March, usually not a good opponent, but I would have preferred Syracuse over Clemson. But Clemson, if we're gonna lose to somebody, Clemson as a quad one is probably better. No, I know we don't want to be negative, but welcome post game, big win, senior night. Congrats to the seniors, obviously going out with a bang. Tristan hit that little floater at the end or turnaround. That wasn't an easy shot that he hit, by the way.
Hey.
To give him the cap on the senior night, which was really cool. What are your thoughts on the game, Josh?
Great to finally see some offensive performance from the team. Big changes in the lineup, like we talked about at halftime. Tane getting a ton of minutes, Rhodey not getting into the game at all. Again, he was on the bench. He was in about the third seat down. He wasn't, all the way at the end, was dressed out. He was up and moving every time, people come out, they stand up and high five, all this, all that. But big development, went from playing so many minutes to not even getting in the game. So we'll see if there's what's going there and see where it leads us as the week goes on into the ACC tournament.
And now we have our opponent, right, for the ACC tournament. Well,
yeah, just about, yeah. So the first game on our part of the bracket is Boston College and Miami. The winner of that will play Clemson, and then we get the winner of that game with those two in Clemson.
So if it goes chalk, then we get Clemson.
Yes.
How do you feel about that matchup?
I mean, it's not the preferred one, if I'm being completely honest. Looking at, the guys right there near them, Syracuse is the 7 seed, so they're right there matched up with Duke. I think I would have preferred to have seen them. The only reason being, I mean, truthfully, is that Clemson is the team on that level of teams that has a superstar player with PJ Hall.
Yeah.
Anytime you can avoid a team that has a guy like that, you just kind of prefer to do it, especially being that he's at the spot that's probably given us the most trouble all year long. Honestly, I thought, though, when we played him the first time, Jordan did a pretty good job handling him. That being said, though, he was able to get some good looks. I mean, at least I thought they were good looks that he just didn't knock down that day. So, it's kind of one of those things where we'll see what happens. Well, we get the advantage of they have to play and we don't. So that, we get the extra day of rest where they have to play another game. So that kind of helps us a little bit, hopefully.
I mean, that usually goes out the window at tip-off, right? That's something like you talk about, but then how often do legs really come into effect for college kids? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, especially not when it's only their second game in 2 days. If they had to run the gauntlet when they get to their fourth game, I mean, maybe it starts to become an issue.
Yeah.
But
right. Yeah, well, we saw UConn. Remember UConn back in the day? Was it that they won 4 or 5 in a row?
Yeah, that was the Kimball Walker team, right?
Yeah, that was insane. So I kind of threw all that out the window. And usually it seems like when we play a team that has to play the day before, they're in more rhythm because they played the day before. So it kind of can go both ways for sure. People love the lineup. What were your thoughts on Rhodey tonight? No Rhodey.
Yeah, I mean, finally just kind of leaned into first for at least part of the season, not having Dante, I guess, was a big factor in the fact that he did play so much. But then, you get into the fact, okay, well, Dante's been here since the middle of January, so why did it take this long still? I think a lot of that leans into the idea that they were trying to maybe hold off on the amount of usage for Reese. I mean, clearly, he was the guy on the team. I mean, he was everything you needed. He leads the team in points. He's leading them in assists. He's one of the tops in the country in assist to turnover. He's up there in steals. I mean, just everything you could want, he does. So to me, I guess maybe just trying to keep some of that wear and tear off of him. You try to play another guy for a long time. That being said, though, like we talked about the halftime, Tane looked pretty good when he got into the lane, too. It wasn't just him knocking down shots that got him on the court. Totally. So, I mean, his game, I think, has kind of developed a little bit, too. Early on, it was pretty clear. It was like, hey, he shoots the lights out. Let's get this guy in the game because we need offensive production. But then when you do that, you're kind of limited with, okay, well, if you can't get him open, then you've only, you got one less guy that can kind of dribble a little bit here and there. But his game's developed this year, too, so it's good to see.
Yeah, Peggy was saying she still thinks we need a bit more offense from Dunn. I think I don't know how much the injury hurt him, but yeah, in general, he's people sag off him, makes it a little bit tougher if he's not a threat out there. for sure. Bliss better be good next year, or we're in real trouble. That's from Thomas.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say that yet. I'm curious to see what happens this year. You know, the NIL portal, everything's changed so much with the college landscape in general. But I am kind of curious to see, you know, if Ryan does get to go pro, there's going to be a nice spot open for us that maybe we could fill, and maybe we get a big time player this year.
Yeah, there was an interesting on our forum. There was an interesting conversation about NIL, and the future for us. It sounds like is going to change. That we're going to lean into NIL a little more, and maybe we're going to be a bigger player with some of these players that we're kind of on the cusp of getting. We're kind of the always the bridesmaid when it comes to the big time recruits. So maybe something will change in this offseason. Maybe there's a chance for those of you that haven't checked it out, go check out the forum, read. Like it's a really good discussion and some really good inside information on the changes. Bill with like have I thought Tane does. I love what Tane does when he's on the floor. Yeah, he was great tonight.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Like I said, Tane all season has shown that he can hit shots. I mean, even from when they had their preseason scrimmage, you've known he was able to shoot, but his ability to get in the lane a little bit, maybe pass some tonight, it was good to see.
yeah, he looked really good on offense, especially. Like the thing that TB cares the most about is obviously defense, and we held Georgia Tech. I mean, they missed a lot of shots, but I think for the most part, the recovery. I mean, we let them go baseline a few times, which we rarely do. I'm sure they're going to talk about that and watching the tape, but for the most part, we did pretty good there. What were your thoughts on the defensive end?
Yeah, so I thought early on, and I kind of mentioned this. I didn't want to go too deep into it in the pregame. Then we got kind of talking other stuff. Had our special guest. That was all fun. But one thing that I thought they were doing early, and I'll be honest, I don't know why they kind of went away from it. Was I thought they were isolating Jake a lot, and when they were using their ball screen stuff, they were kind of getting him into the motion and having him as the guy that they were kind of targeting. Which again, that's like an NBA approach, right? Like you find the weakness, you just keep pounding it and pounding it and pounding it. And it worked pretty well for them early. I mean, they stayed right there with us for a while. And then for some reason, they just started kind of playing one-on matchups and it kind of went away for them, and they struggled to score more. And I guess that's part of what you have, though, when you have a very young team like that is for stretches, it's good. And for stretches, it's not. You got to take the good and the bad.
Yeah, like poking holes and taking sort of shots at the weakest players. Definitely, that's like the NBA playoffs in a nutshell.
Mhm.
Um, Less so in college for whatever reason. I'm not sure. I think because it's not. I don't know if it's like the data isn't quite there, and the offense can't really take advantage of it. But yeah, for sure, it seems and a lot of times the other team doesn't like scout as well. I feel like they
Yeah.
don't they know our tendencies, but they don't always try to exploit them, which is an interesting tactic. I don't know. Every coach is a little different. Some just like to run their sets because that's what they're good at, and then they don't really concern themselves with what the other team does, because they just think their sets are superior. Which that's one way to do it. What are your thoughts on the game plan for Clemson if that is our matchup?
Again, it's just going to come down to if we can hit shots. I mean, that's been the thing all year with this group is if they're hitting some shots, especially from 3-point range, they can beat just about anybody, and we've seen that. If they're not hitting, they can maybe keep it close. I mean, maybe they don't do great. They held North Carolina. That's a major offensive team. They're probably going to be a 1 seed now, right, with their win today and the fact that Tennessee lost. Held them to 55 points, and I don't think they would have broke 50 if it weren't for the free throw shooting contest at the end. So as horrible as we were that day, we were right there with them the entire game. So, I mean, this team still has one elite trait, with that defense being able to slow teams down and being able to keep other teams from scoring. It's just all about if they can make the shots, just like Raider there is saying for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like we struggle to shoot threes when the other team is athletic, and like Duke, when they switch and they have athleticism out there and they're kind of daring our shooters to drive. That seems to be when we struggle because then the guys are like, all right, if you want a three, you're gonna have to create some space, and we seem to struggle with that. I wonder
Mhm.
what the move will be for Clemson and in the tournament. It seems like we need to run a few more sets to get guys open. I'm always concerned. I feel like when we go up against a team that switches a lot, We tend to struggle. And when a team steps forward, and turns the notch up in March, when it's tournament time, everybody all of a sudden has a penchant for defense. We oftentimes don't have a backup plan on offense. It seems like, but we'll see. I'm hoping our guys can hit some shots and get open. Um, WFSU, I'm perplexed, which is not to say entirely displeased by Rhodey not playing at all. I don't get it. Yeah, there may have been something else that we're unaware of. I don't know if he's going to say in the post game. Maybe there's a sickness. I know there's been a flu going around too, so it could be a little bit of that. But yeah, definitely interesting. Thomas, I'm still amazed we can't get Isaac more open shots. Yeah, the thing with scouting reports, his tendencies now, like they're out there, right? He needs a little time to get open. So people press him and they force him to drive. You see today he had to drive a lot. They force him to drive and they force him to take floaters and shots inside. So I think that's part of like experience and getting older and having off seasons to sort of work on your weaknesses so that people can't exploit them like that. But when he's open, he's deadly.
Yeah, and
Chris,
that's part of what can help too, though, to get open. Getting a guy like Tane in there that other teams do have to respect.
Right.
And make it even with the switch to going to Groves. It's another guy that teams have to respect. The
Right.
less you can sag means the less help there's going to be. So if you're trying to get him freed up, it's easier if he's got a one-on-one as opposed to more help showing off.
And right, when Dunn isn't a threat and he's out there, they're going to sag off of him constantly. Or if anyone's not a threat, Rhodey's not a threat, they're going to just sag off of him and go help on the shooter, and then it makes your life really tough, right? Because then Isaac's going to have a tough time driving and a tough time shooting. It just makes the game much more difficult. Let's go with Chris. The drive and dish must become more prevalent than the screen curl insides. I mean, with Reese and Dunn, yeah, definitely. Like, it seems like the pick and roll game, we don't do it as much. We definitely prefer the sides. Like Reese driving to the basket, good things happen when we touch the paint tonight with Tane and Reese, and even when Isaac does it, I feel like more things happen on the offensive side. What are your thoughts there, Josh?
Oh yeah, for sure. You're absolutely right. Even when Dante does it, one thing I've thought with Dante, just trying to give him a little bit of credit, I think for his size, he does a really good job with his body. Like there's never times where it's like he goes in there and I don't want to give people bad flashbacks, but he goes into the trees and just gets blocked out of nowhere. Like it was so clear it was going to happen. He does a really good job of kind of, getting that space, using his body, getting different angles. And he's good. I mean, he's fast and he's good with the ball. Like he can move it around. So yeah, anytime you can get to touch the paint, it helps. That's a dimension that you just almost have to have.
Yeah, Bill saying maybe we just needed a week off. We played well at BC, so good games in 2 out of 3. Burn the tape of the Duke. Yeah, Duke is just a matchup like nightmare, and of course, being at home, it's intimidating. They're on a high. Plus, the switching and the athleticism they bring to the table really negates a lot of the stuff we do. When they're on, it's not really a game. Like it's almost unfair, right? Like you could tell in the Duke game, Reese getting into the lane doesn't even help, right? Like it's like he was getting kind of taken advantage of there. How would you rate Harris tonight, Josh?
If you want to say rate, let's just say a scale of 10, I guess would be easiest. I'd probably give him honestly a 7 coming up on an 8. He was very solid, especially there at the end. He got some points on the board, so that helps. But just what he's able to give there, where he's able to take the ball and he can get to the paint, which again, that's something that Reese we know can do, but some other guys, Isaac can do it some here and there. Rhodey can maybe a little bit, but it's something that we need. And then he can be just such a pest on the ball, just hounding the guy, bringing it up. I think he poked 2 balls away as they were coming across midcourt tonight, which one I think we got, the other they end up recovering, but no big deal. But still, I mean, it's an element that you need, and I think he's doing a good job in what he does. I don't really like him shooting threes, but also if he ends up being wide open as a byproduct of somebody else trying to be aggressive, I don't mind him taking it either, that type of thing. I'm not a big fan of when the ball's in his hands with say 3 or 4 seconds left as the clock's coming down, but just in general, I think he does a decent job. I mean, he's not going to be a superstar, I don't think. I mean, he did show at Georgetown he can go into a microwave and he could carry a team if he had to, which would be awesome if he does for us. I'm not going to complain a bit about it. I just
Right.
don't happen to see it, with where he's at right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's on the offensive side, he's very quick and he's a great ball handler, which is something we need. And on the defensive end, like you said, he is a quick, pesky defender, and I think TB likes that. And I think if the matchup is right, he's going to get more minutes, right? Like I know people want to see Elijah, but the ball handling piece and some of the experience that Harris has is a little bit of notch higher, I would say. But Elijah maybe has a higher ceiling and more athleticism, but I don't think TB leans that way, so to speak. Let's see what do we got next? Wahoo Raider, when open, got to shoot from the outside. You got to take the opportunity. Murray over Rhodey. Yes.
Yeah, and that's what we saw tonight. Let's see. So I know that they hit over 10 threes. Here, let me pull the stats up so I don't misquote it here. We'll say how many did they take? They took 26 threes tonight. I mean, when they were open just about every time they took a shot. I mean, there were a couple that I found myself saying, like, oh, come on, shoot it. Like, what are you doing? But, I mean, you get 26 shots up. I think that's the recipe for this team, honestly. If they get that many up, there's the guys that are getting the shots up are such good shooters that they're probably going to hit at a fairly decent clip. Like, I kind of think they almost have to get that type of volume.
From Kevin Beads, Labita. What up, Beads? The fact that this team went 13-7, third place, does CTV get ACC Coach of the Year? I mean, his name should absolutely be in there. I think preseason most people picked us fourth or fifth, and then we finished third. And maybe I don't know. Usually it's like whoever exceeds the expectations the most. I don't know who that's going to be this year, but I hope his name is in there because this is an impressive puzzle that he'd had to kind of piece together this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he'll be in there. The Carolina teams win, so probably they get it. If I'm being honest, though, Capel probably deserves to. I think he got it last year, right? Deserves to go back to back for the effort that he put in with this group. Like, I mean, coming from out of nowhere to get the 4th seed in the last double bye, like that's pretty impressive for what they have that they're working with.
Yeah, they seemed dead in the water there early in the season, and then they kind of came out of nowhere with a nice run. William Duke Harris has great on ball D. Harris is a deficit. Oh yeah, his offense definitely not exactly what it is. Sean, quickness in basketball is never overrated, and Harris has it absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
From Waukee Win, if Rhodey isn't sick, Tony should explain how he goes from 27 minutes to 0. I mean, when you win, right? Like, I don't know if he's got to explain anything.
Explain about looking at it, but no,
Yeah,
we would all like to hear it, though, right? Like everybody just naturally is
absolutely.
curious. Like we do want to know.
It is strange. Like let's keep it real. Early in the season, he was 30 plus minutes a game. And then now to have 0, that is, I mean, it can't be all matchups. I agree. I don't know if he's going to exactly explain it, but we'll see. Chris, like many of our point guards, we lack reliable deep shooters. If we could get that think tie, everything changes out. Absolutely. I mean, everybody wants that though. Like it's, point guards are it's not just UVA. I mean, you're talking about deep, reliable 30-foot shooting. It just doesn't happen real regularly. So I think we were spoiled with how many people could do it in the past, and can we expect to find them because London had range. Obviously, Ty had range. So the last couple of years here with Kihei and Reese, not really deep shooters. It's been just a different feel for our point guards. Will Watts, Capel gets Coach of the Year, probably.
I kind of think so. I mean, he deserves it. I don't think you could go wrong with either him or Tony. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Hubert gets it just because Carolina finished first. And we know how things go when it comes to voting. Anytime Carolina or Duke does any decent,
I would say what probably holds us back on any kind of voting is like the big games on national TV. We laid some eggs. Like Virginia Tech, we laid a big egg. Duke laid a big egg. I mean, there were so many complaints about our offense this year. I could see some people that aren't totally tuned in to our games is going to be like, no way, Coach TB gets Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You really got to pay attention to understand like personnel plus that. But if you're like, like you said, if you're one of those Carolina beat reporters and you just see a few games a year, you're probably not voting Tony Bennett. You're probably going to say the offense is terrible. I don't want to watch it. Sean, Hubert Davis deserves Coach of the Year. You know, yeah, I have to agree though that UNC doesn't go and get all 5 stars one and dones like Duke. They develop players, they get them. They obviously they keep them a while with Baycott and they pay them a lot, but they stay and they're they win. So it's hard to argue that, right? UNC is definitely doing it a different way. They're relying on sort of their brand and their heritage of UNC, and that it works, right? They're winning. It's impressive for sure. William Duke, don't want Harris to have the ball late in the clock. Yeah, that's what you said, right, Josh?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, if he's getting it back with 4 or 5 seconds left, it usually isn't great because then he's got to try to force something, But he really doesn't. I mean, I don't know how to say it without sounding like I don't mean this in a mean way, but he doesn't bother me at all. Like he didn't do anything that's out of the way that makes me think like he doesn't need to be playing. I mean, maybe there's some guys with higher upside here and there, but he doesn't do anything that makes him need to come off the court either. So, especially when you've got other guys on the court with him that can score.
I do like it when it's kind of when he has a lane open, he can get past his man pretty quickly and get into the lane. Now, whether or not he can finish is a whole different story, but his ability to get in the lane is incredible. We need that. We need someone that can get in the paint and make things happen. And I would say he's not the worst one to have the ball late in the clock because he can potentially make he's one of the few guys who can really create space for himself, whether a step back or getting in the lane. So not definitely not the worst person. Chris Foley, Capel, yes. With all Davis has, no way he should get Coach of the Year. Yeah, he definitely, but he did keep them, right? It's almost a coaching job in itself to keep players. I mean, probably an NIL job, but Chris Foley, drive and dish. That's the name.
And we saw a lot of that there early on when they were running that lineup where they could, get Reese and Ryan going in the kind of pick and roll type game, and you got 3 shooters spaced around, so anybody's kind of a threat to score then.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the recipe for us that I personally like. I like when Reese is in control and then kind of driving, and then the other guys anyone sags, you make them pay. Otherwise, Reese finishes at the rim. That seems like a great March plan. Down the stretch when we really need a bucket. I hope we go to that because it feels like the opportunity is going to be there more so this year than even last year, I would say, right? Like end of game scenarios. I mean, we haven't lost many close games this year that I can think of. Maybe UNC was kind of close, but when we lose, it's kind of spectacularly losses. But we win. We pull out the close games because I think we have a great mechanism at the end of the game to create shots.
Yeah, by the numbers, UNC was 55-45. So technically, we don't have any single digit losses this year. Every loss was 10 plus.
Right, which also is the most ever in Tony Bennett history. Most 10-point losses ever. Most 15-point, most 20-point losses in his entire tenure. So I don't know what that tells you. But final score. What was the final score? Official.
72-57. Right. That's what I had.
The men's basketball post-game post says 50-57. 70-57. Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think that's just a typo. I kind of feel like
somebody fat fingered.
Mm-hmm.
But the game, they didn't give Tristan the 2 points. Damn shame. That was a great.
The slight.
John, that was pretty damn fun. Yeah, winning an easy win is always fun, right? Especially senior night, like one you really want the guys to get, and they come out. Elijah has got to factor in if we're going to make it deep or we're going to make a run. Keep Murray on the floor. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, it would be nice to see. And again, that's something that it's a change up we could go to if we need it. He's another guy that I do think has that ability to get into the lane, and I think because of his athleticism, he doesn't necessarily have to completely blow past his man to do it.
So let's talk NCAA tournament here for a second. It feels like this gets us off the bubble. I have no idea. Like I read it, I have no idea what to think. It seems like being third in the ACC. I know it's a weak year. Being third and beating Georgia Tech here at the end of the season seems like a good reason to make. Even if we lose to Clemson, I would hope. I mean, we might be in Dayton, but I hope we make the tournament. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Or am I you know talking out
No,
of my you know what?
I think you're right on that. To me, I feel like we shouldn't be in the play-in situation right now. We should definitely be like a seeded team, with the bye as they call it, even though 64 freaking teams get a bye. Like,
Right.
but it short of getting dismantled by Clemson, I don't think we'll be in that play-in type of situation. Now, if Clemson beats us by 30 or something, like that, maybe we get sent to Dayton again. Yeah, it could be a thing. It could come back up, but I think we're probably fairly safe at this point. If I had to say, I would say a 10 seed would be where I'd have us. I mean, I'm not a bracketology guy, but that's where I would probably
Yeah.
have us.
I mean, obviously, a lot has to be played out here with all the tournaments and all of that stuff to see where all the other bubble teams lie. But I would like to think we're in a good position. But again, you don't have to go far back in history to know a third place ACC team not making it. That was last year with Clemson, but they had a terrible resume, right? They had some bad like quad four losses. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're gonna miss the tournament, but it's probably gonna be if we lose on Thursday, I imagine it's gonna be sweaty watching the bracketology, watching the brackets unfold. But I think we'll make it. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
I kind of feel like I'll be sweating more of if we have to go to Dayton than I will be actually making the tournament. I feel pretty good at this point that we're going to be in.
Yeah, same here. I feel good. A greater than 50% chance. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
um, nobody will want to play us in the tournament. What are your thoughts on that? I would tend to think the other way, but I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I mean, it just kind of depends on how you want to look at it. If you want to say this is a team that couldn't score over 50 points for like 3 of their last 5 games or whatever, okay, yeah, you could say that and be super thrilled you get to play us. Or you could look at it and say this is 2 of the best defenders in college basketball and one of the best shooters in college basketball. So it's like kind of pick your poison on which way you want to look at it and how you're going to take the team and perceive them. Yeah, I mean, if you're the so if we're a 10, we play the 7 and the 2 seed, I guess you might be kind of sweating that a little bit, especially if there's a good 7 seed there as well, where it's kind of like, man, you don't really want either team to win. But yeah, I kind of tend to think that way, that we're probably somebody that people would want to avoid. Um, we're in a different spot too. It's not like this year where like a little school gets their shot at us and it's like, oh, you have this history of
Right,
little teams can hang with these guys. Like, let's go after
right,
them. No, this year, like the big dogs are going to have to play us if we get in.
right. We're probably going to play a big dog, Michigan State, or some team of that caliber, depending on how things play out. Right, we're probably going to play a power conference team in that first round, and in which case, yeah, let's see what happens. I'm excited. Like, Wahoo Raider said, we probably win the first game. Go figure. Redemption. I would love it to see us make some noise, mostly more for Reese than anything. Right? He hasn't won a. Think about committing to UVA after the national championship, coming to UVA thinking, all right, here we go. I'm gonna win another one for them. And you don't get one, you get 2 appearances, and you go for 2 and you got your last one coming. It's gotta be tough. So I'm hoping we get one for him. And the seniors more. And same transfers too, right? You transfer here thinking we're gonna go to the tournament, do some damage. So you don't want to go in and just lose one. So let's hope. Fingers crossed. I'd love to see us do a crazy run. Will, they sagged off done by an amazing degree. Offense handled it tonight, but a worry in the postseason.
Yeah, he's right. I
Okay.
mean, the one good thing though, and it was very, very early in the game, like early first half type thing. Ryan kind of recognized how far they were sagging. He was out in the corner, kind of could have, I guess, taken a 3 if he would have wanted. He's only hit 7 this year, so he probably wasn't wanting to at all. But
Right.
he immediately took 3 steps in, got to the guy's body, made a nice little spin move, and laid it in. And if he could just have that confidence in himself that he can handle the ball a little bit, he can kind of take a guy off the dribble a little bit, so to speak. It'd go a long way because he really hasn't been bad when he's done stuff like that this year.
Right. Yeah. Beginning of the year, that seemed like a go-to thing for him. And
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of drifted away from it. I'm not sure what happened there. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Like having, the one game where what was it? What was the game where maybe it was BC in the second half? He didn't play much, and we went on a 45-point sort of run there. Like, when he's out of the game on offense, it leaves a little more space for everybody because they can't sag off him. So that's not a great look for him. And for us, frankly, because he does so much on the other end of the court. We'd love to have him be a threat on offense. Um,
Sure. It's crazy to
John,
think too with him that the first shot of the year for this team was Ryan Dunn hitting a three. Like that's so crazy to think about, like looking back now.
you're right. That is crazy. John with Tristan's jumper to close it out was awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it
just like
was.
story, but that's like the senior night magic at JPJ, right? Like the walk on hits the shot, everybody goes crazy, everyone's happy for him. It's so cool. I'm just, I don't know if there's a believe in basketball karma or whatever, but it feels like that always comes back with the way the program treats walk-ons and managers and all of that here at UVA. That we've had so many stories like that. It's pretty.
Mhm.
It's damn near amazing. Like, I don't know how else to put it, but appreciate that, John. Say hi to Anna for us. Um, yeah, don't mention Michigan State. And we've had a couple of run-ins with Michigan State, but it's been a while. I don't know. I was worried in 2019 when we were all watching Texas Tech, Michigan State, and I was like, oh, here we go again. Are we going to get Michigan State in the Final Four?
It
Um,
it
uh,
just felt like destiny, right? Like when you're sitting there watching it, it was like there's no way we have to go through these guys. I still can't believe that they didn't win that game, to be completely honest. That was more mind-boggling to me than anything, with any of our craziness, how we pulled out those wins. The fact that we didn't match up with them, it still just
yeah,
blows my mind to think about.
yeah, it was pretty wild. Like I remember watching that in the lobby in Minneapolis, when I'm thinking, here, we're going to get Michigan State for sure. Um, but anyway.
Yeah,
Uh,
I stayed in the arena for that whole thing and just sat and watched it, just wanting to see what would happen and everything. And I'll tell you what, those Texas Tech fans, they were kind of rough, like coming out of there. Like I would have thought Auburn fans would have been worse. Which again, I did stay for both games, so maybe they had already left. I just kind of missed it, I guess. But man, those Texas Tech fans, they were really riled up. Which I mean, I'd be fired up too. Your team's in the title game, I guess, but they were kind of
I
rough.
I had I had the reverse experience. I thought the Auburn fans were just obnoxious, but um, when Mark and his family were sitting right next to Patrick Mahomes, and they were talking smack during our game because they were cheering for Auburn,
Mhm.
which I thought was funny. But it was it is what it is. It's the Final Four, right? Everybody's amped up. I'm sure we Virginia fans were obnoxious too. So I'm not even gonna say anything because I wasn't a part of everything. It was the loudest moment of the game when yeah, that is cool. That's so cool. Everybody loves the managers and walk-ons, especially when they're out there. I mean, it's a special moment, right? You don't get to see them often. It's their last chance, and they get the big shot. It's so cool.
Mhm.
Texas Tech fans were really harsh on Culver after the finals. Yeah, I bet they were.
I'm sure they were. I mean, I'm not glad I didn't tune into any of that just because I was so in disbelief that we actually did it. Like you could have told me that Texas Tech changed their colors to purple and green, and I probably would have believed it because I wasn't going to check to make sure they didn't. I was just so excited. Like
Totally. I remember nothing right after. I mean, I remember sitting on there like crying and then watching the one shining moment, but I don't remember. No, I didn't like. I tuned out. Like I didn't check Twitter. I wasn't doing any of that. I just remember being like completely in the moment, which is pretty cool. Which March Madness. It's that amazing time of year for us basketball fans to like dial into the game. What? Speaking of which, what are you doing for the ACC tournament? Are you going?
No, no, that too much of a work commitment, so I'm just gonna watch from home. I mean, maybe if we make a run to the championship, might try to go up Saturday, but
Okay. How are you feeling, by the way? I know you said you were a little under the weather.
oh, doing good now. We're good now. I'm back to normal. First of the week, it was bad. I missed a few days of work, stayed home, lost some weight. It was pretty rough, but good
Uh-huh.
now. Taking back on it now, so I think we're good.
Yeah, and that it's never fun. I mean, this is kind of cold season, right? Like last year after the Furman game in Orlando, I came home and I tested positive for COVID, and that was not fun. Had a fever, all of it. It's ugly.
Yeah, I went
Um,
into like we call them urgent cares here, like a Med Express type thing, and they said it was some type of like a bacterial infection, I guess. So
okay.
I don't know. Just kind of had to fight through it for a few days, but back on the mend now, so things are looking good.
Good, good, good. We're debating about going to the game Thursday. I'm gonna see if I can get a flight. If anyone's out there, let me know. We'll link up before the game, watch the game, however LRA wants to do it. If anyone's out there watching, listening, hit us up, hit me up. We can figure out a way to meet up before the game. Um, Jen saying glad you're feeling better, Josh. Yeah, well, it's
Oh,
just
thank
me
you.
and Josh tonight. Mark, Fresh, have all had family. I mean, it's like Saturday night, so we at least are able to scrounge together us, Josh here to come and help. And to know we appreciate it for sure, Josh, for jumping in. Otherwise, they're just stuck with just me, which is terrible. But which isn't much of a show, so I appreciate it. So Thursday game 9 o'clock, right? 9:30.
Yeah, it'll be it's tentatively 9:30, but it's they do these games so for people that don't have never gone to like a tournament style, they sell these games in sessions. And so what that is there's two games in a session. So if you buy a ticket to one, you can go to both essentially, right?
Right.
And the way it's going to go is, the first game will start at I believe it's 7 and they'll play. They set ours for 9:30 to hopefully have that game finished in time. But if it's not, we do got to let them clear the floor. We have to have our time to warm up. We have to, all this and that, go through the pregame stuff. So this game could end up, it could be 10 o'clock, honestly. Like it could happen. It has happened. It can very well happen. It probably will just because that's what happens to us, it seems like, is the game before us
Yeah,
becomes a foul fest. And next thing you know, we don't start till after 10 and just one of those ordeals. But
it is. Guys better take a nap. 10 o'clock game, maybe potentially. Um, you know, leaving the arena past midnight potentially, most likely for the players for sure. So it's going to be a long night, but Thursday, big game, ACC tournament. It's March Madness. And what are your plans for Selection Sunday? Are you just going to be home pretty much doing anything for the tournament, Josh?
oh, no, yeah, I'll just watch Selection Sunday at home, I'm sure.
I mean, anybody else out there, Danny, and anyone have any plans for March Madness? You guys like, my friends, we usually go to Vegas and watch the first round.
Oh, okay.
When it's 60, whatever, 4, I guess 64, we don't do the first Dayton. When it's 64, we watch those first two rounds and watch the games all together. We've been doing it for 25 years. I mean, it's crazy.
That's
The
awesome.
COVID was obviously the only year we didn't do it. But Vegas is amazing. Oh, really? Vegas, Thomas, let me know. We I'll be out there. Maybe we'll link up, watch Virginia play. Let us know. Um, Bill, nothing worse than when the 7 o'clock goes into overtime. Your team has to wait. Yeah, that
It is. He's right.
the good thing is both teams have to wait. It just feels like an eternity when you don't have a ton of skin in the game. You're like most of the time, you're like, hey, I just want to see a good game. In this scenario, when you're waiting for your team, you don't want to see a good game. You want to blow out. You want to blow out so your team can come and play. So um, we'll see. It'll be an interesting night nonetheless. We'll see how Locker Room Access show goes. I don't know, Josh, if you could run it,
Yeah.
the pregame show. Everybody can join. I'm sure everybody want to, especially if the game is that late. Maybe at least the pregame show you can start it. Um, all right, Thomas. Same. We'll have a bunch of UVA people. We'll link up in Vegas for sure. Like
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll put a post on the forum. I know there's a few UVA people out in Vegas, so we'll put something together. Maybe we'll convince Fresh or Mark to come out. Um, I think maybe I don't know. Grant came last year. Was it last year? No, 2 years ago. Last year we went to Orlando. But yeah, we'll figure something out. It'll be fun. We'll put some more people in the sports book to watch UVA win. Hopefully win. Fingers crossed. And then selection shows. Do you do anything for that, Josh? Should we do a live show for a selection show, or I mean post selection show? Maybe I don't.
Oh yeah, we should totally do that. No, I'm sorry, that's where I thought we were at to begin with. Selection Sunday, I'll just sit at home and watch it on TV. I usually for the tournament, they're going back to that for a second. I have like a theater type room in my house, I mean, it's just got a couch and TVs. It's nothing really too crazy, but that's what I kind of generally use it for, is like for watching stuff. I put all 4 TVs in up there and have all 4 games going at once.
Oh
So I just kind
man,
of turn
good
my
for you.
house into a B-dubs type of thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you got your own like sports book. Um,
Yeah, I just kind of do my own thing over here with it. But
that's so
no,
cool.
yeah, that would be cool though. Maybe we could do like once the bracket is out, kind of a like they do on TV, the reaction to it, and kind of just
Yeah.
break down what we're looking at.
All right, let's do that. We'll get a bunch of guests to come on and hopefully jump in and talk about it. We'll also do the bracket March Madness bracket challenge, and we always, well, not always. Last year we did it for Phony Bennett, and we'll do it again this year. We'll have more details for that. You know, Phony first season without him, it was a tough one. I'm not gonna lie, but you know we'll continue that tradition. I think last year we raised quite a bit of money for his daughter's 529 plan. So maybe we'll keep that up, or maybe we'll do it to the UVA Children's Hospital. One of the two. I'll ask the Phony's kids if what they would prefer. So if they're covered, I know one's at VCU and the others are planning on. So we'll figure it out. But look out for that. More information coming. Um, yeah, Bill said you're living the dream. You have to show us your setup for sure.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure. We can
more,
maybe I
I'm
can
hearing
do
there's
that.
four
If
movie
you do a
screens.
pregame for the first tournament game, maybe I can set up there and we can just kind of have it in the background.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's fun stuff, man. I'm excited. Another March Madness coming Thursday. The next show will be Thursday. Again, hit us up. We'll jump on 30 minutes pregame, maybe a little bit. I'll leave it up to Josh if you want to go on a little earlier, if it's feeling that way. Um, Feel free to jump on early, get fresh, and have Mark. I don't know if any of them are coming to the tournament, so we'll figure it out. Maybe I can give you a live look in at the arena if I have a signal.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
But otherwise, man, appreciate you jumping on tonight. Go Who's! Congrats on the win, everyone. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Go Who's.
Go Who's!